Hello and welcome to Still Got Legs, a Doctor Who Rewatch podcast brought to you by Another Happy Studios. This week, he's not the face of Bo, alright? It's Jack, that's it, the last of the Time Lords. Hello everyone, welcome to Still Got Legs, the only other Doctor Who podcast in the world. My name's Nathan, I'm joined with my co-host Lawrence. Lawrence, hello.
Hello Nathan, how the devil are you?
Literally no one cares, Lawrence, because we're joined this week by a very special guest all the way from the Missing Mystic Falls podcast. Catherine is back. Hello, Catherine.
Hi, thank you so much for having me back.
No problem. The crowd is going wild. How are you doing, Catherine?
Good, thank you. Excited to be talking about Dr Who.
Yes.
I'm excited that I can finally speak to someone that has seen the Vampire Diaries and has an interest in it. I know Nathan listens to the show, but he hasn't seen it, and I don't think you can fully appreciate it until you've seen it.
It's such a mad show that, like, me and my two friends talked about so much. We needed a safe space to contain our conversations because there is so much to say always.
Yeah, that was the same for us with Doctor Who. We found, like, we'd just be out and we'd, like, just monopolize any conversation. Like, hey, have you guys thought about this from Doctor Who in season 1 from, like, 15 years ago or whatever? So this is our safe space. Welcome. It's nice to have a third party in our safe space. We've opened up the floor.
I will say Vampire Diaries does, again, never seen an episode, but it does sound particularly unhinged. So that's what I like listening to you guys talk about it, but I don't know. I just it sounds wild. I feel like I get the point of it mostly. So like that's all I need. I'm fine with that.
All we care about is the download, so that's all we need. Okay. We don't care if you watch the show.
Yeah, that's fine then. That's fine. But yeah, so we're here today to talk about the finale of season 3. This is The Last of the Time Lords, written by Russell T Davies, directed by Colin Teague. Obviously, the same writing, directing duo as of last week. Catherine, I just want to start with you. So, obviously, because you didn't join us for the last few episodes or so, what are your thoughts on this whole two-parter, kind of three-parter, but not really as a whole?
Oh, I mean, I don't want to weigh into the controversial 2 versus 3-parter, but I did watch 3 episodes to prepare for this, so leave that what you will. I really like it. I love this season. Like, why I asked to be kindly welcomed back to this episode is because I love Martha Jones, and I think it's a really good cap to her art. And in general, there's a few silly things, but I think it works very well as a season finale.
I don't know if I agree. Because because I was watching this episode earlier today, and for the most part, I was just like, "This is pretty bad." I think I was not having a good time with a lot of it.
You are heartless. You are you say what happened in my childhood. This is cheesy to the max. This is lovely. This has emotional payoffs. Some really well written scenes. It's got dumb shit. It's got very, very dumb shit in it.
Yes,
but it's good.
Yeah, it's got a lot of dumb shit in it. You're definitely right there. Okay, well written scenes, a few, 1 or 2 perhaps, and then there's just some Russellisms, some egos that need to be put in check. There's just a lot of stuff flying all around the place, but we will obviously get into that. So you like this one a lot then, Lawrence?
Yeah, I don't see this is my favorite era of the show, and Catherine, I know that you said this is you're a Russell stan like me, but this I just don't think you. I mean, obviously you can not like this because Nathan's saying he doesn't, but I don't see how. It's so quick moving. It's it's a cure to some poor writing moments in this season. Martha saves the day. It's great. It's a great episode for the companion. It's a great episode for the Doctor. It's a great comeuppance for the Master, who has been someone we've loved to hate for a couple of episodes. I don't know. I don't know how you can't not enjoy this. It's a good
All
time.
right, first of all, I would massively disagree with the point you just made there, where you said it's a great episode for the Doctor. He doesn't do anything for the entire episode, okay?
And good. He deserves to take a backseat. He's been a wanker this whole fucking show. This whole season, he's been a prick.
Yeah, I would agree. And then I'd argue he's even more of a prick later on. But not to jump too far ahead. Lawrence, where does the episode open?
Weirdly, we don't just get a straight up. Normally with these like two-parter cliffhangers, we get just an instant moment where things are okay again. We spoke last week about how this is basically as fucked as it's ever been. Like 1/10 of the population just got decimated, in the words of the Master. Martha has teleported off the Valiant. Jack has been executed, and I'd imagine revived and then executed again for a few more times for good measure. But this episode picks up 1 year later, which is that's a statement. That's like, oh, it's been fucked for a year. We haven't just resolved this. I think that's really cool.
I think it brings so much like emotional weight that it's like a year on and the world is fucked, and our characters, particularly the human characters and the Joneses, are a year on, like living through this like fucking hell. Do you not think it like adds a new layer that we haven't had before?
I do, yeah, I definitely do. And I think that would have been more interesting to focus on rather than what we ended up getting. Because yes, it is a year later, but it doesn't really feel like it. It's just instantly like, I think my issue with it is like, yeah, the episode opens up with like, oh, it's been a year and all this stuff has happened. But then, like, as soon as we get to the Valiant, the Master is like, oh, here's everything that happened exactly 1 year ago, Doctor. Remember when we did this? Remember when you spoke to Martha and told her to go do that? This all happened 1 year ago. Not 5 minutes ago, just 1 year ago. And it just doesn't feel like it's been a year to me. If we actually spent time focusing on, like, the stuff the Joneses went through, rather than them just kind of saying it, which is still interesting, but I don't know, it feels like a bit of a missed opportunity to me.
I think you can feel that it's been a year. I do get what you're saying, because this was filmed... they filmed this, like, the same day, probably, a lot of these scenes. Like, I get it. From, like, an outside perspective, as an informed audience member, you know that it's not been a year. But I do think it feels like it. I think the Joneses, there's a lot of moments. You can see a lot of the times where they're just chatting amongst each other. You know, like, you know, they watch Japan burn. He brought us out on the deck. Like, they go into some quite, like, awful stuff that, you know, this TV show could never show us, really, because it would probably be too... Not what the BBC wanted to put out. I think the state of the world seems fucked. I think Martha seems to have... in terms of her, like, demeanor and, like, how she, even just, like, straight away when she starts speaking to Tom Milligan, like, she just seems different. She seems a bit older, a bit wiser, and a bit warier. She's in, I wrote my note exactly, says she's in her unit era, even if she doesn't know it yet. But yeah. So I don't know. Catherine, do you think it feels like a time has passed, or?
I think it does. And I personally think like whatever gaps there is in the writing, I think is made up for in some of the performance, particularly from Martha's like Martha's mum and her sister Trish. Like, I think those three performances are really solid, and yeah, they only get a few lines of dialogue, but I think they manage to convey a lot with what they are given.
No, I'd agree with that. Yeah.
What I enjoy, and I also kind of think it's there is a sadness to it, which is just the Master is acting like a sore winner. He's just, you know, he's doing track through. You get the impression he says like, who's going to massage me today? You get the impression he's just living the same day over and over, the same sexist day over and over. And I don't know, I feel like the way everyone looks just so sick of it. He's like a spoilt brat, and I just think it introduces, you know, in a way, Nathan, I guess I can see what you're saying, because although a year has gone on, nothing has changed. He's still just doing dumb shit on the Valiant day in, day out. So their lives haven't progressed in a way. So maybe that's a nice middle ground we can find.
I'll tell you what, we have spent most of this season calling 10 a dick. And he is a dick this season. But like, we immediately get served like, oh, okay, well, he's not that bad though, is he? Because like immediately John Sim is here to just remind us like how much of a dick someone can really be. Just
Yeah.
straight up in your face. Hey, Lucy, look at all these sexy girls who are giving me massages. You should talk to each other and get to know each other. Look at her while she's massaging me. And it's just like, what an absolute prick, man. Just the biggest, just punchable face of a guy ever. And yeah, track 3 is a little bit of fun, a little bit of dancing to the Scissor Sisters. Lawrence, I imagine you hate this because it's probably just, trying to get views on TikTok or whatever.
No, see, I know you're trying to bait me, and I know we want to save it for the conversation in like 6 years' time or whatever. What I will say is it certainly serves a purpose, and we'll get back to that later in 6 years' time.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. What do you think about the Master and his like introduction here, Catherine?
Yeah, no, it's really what you said. Like, it's fucking dark on that ship. Like, the Doctor's living in a tent with a little dog bowl. Like,
Yeah.
Lucy has a black eye. Like, they're implying this. He's just the fucking worst. And Johnston manages to play this like hideous guy that you still enjoy watching on screen, which is a very fine line to walk.
I do enjoy, well, I don't enjoy the way he just like very egregiously kisses Lucy, but then what I do enjoy is just the fucking eye roll she gives as soon as like she's out of his sight, and just like, I fucking hate this guy, man. You can tell like in the past year she's been through some shit obviously, and she's just like, I'm so done with this dickhead now. Like, that's interesting to see.
I actually think one of the faults of the episode is Lucy a little bit.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Just because they're obviously like with like his little comment about him like getting to know another woman and like her black eye. I think whenever you have serious topics of like abuse or like sexual violence, like the stage should be centered on like the victim, for better want of the word. And I understand what they're doing. They're trying to show like the Master is a mirror of the Doctor, and that companion relationship is like twisted into something horrible. But you don't know anything about Lucy. You don't know, like, if you were to describe her as a character, what like she wants, her motivations or ambitions, you just can't. So I think it's like,
no,
I don't know, using these like themes but not particularly sensitively.
Yeah.
We had trouble talking about it last week, like trying to figure out what's in it for her with this relationship. Like, why is this something she's into or whatever? And there's a lot of reasons for that, but in this episode where, like, spoiler alert, she straight up fucking kills him, but like even that's the biggest thing she has to do, and she doesn't have, and even that, it's kind of a muted moment. She really doesn't have anything to do. Everything she does do is basically shown through him throughout the whole episode, really, and it's not that great, to be honest.
I think she just needed like a scene like to herself or about her, because what the show has always, like throughout every iteration, has been good at is making you care about characters who have very, very little screen time and get to know them quite quickly. So I don't know why they couldn't do like what they did with like Professor Doherty in this episode also with her. So it just feels like she's an afterthought to the whole thing.
I would love to have seen like what her and Francine could have spoken about just in this episode, because that Francine can be hot-headed. Like, we've seen her slap the Doctor, and we've seen her, like, a lot of her time in this episode is dedicated to her just outright desire to kill the Master for everything that he's put her and her family through. And it would be nice to see Lucy confronted with that kind of, I guess, like, vibe, for lack of a better word, considering that she helped him get to the point where he could inflict that abuse. And when it's been twisted around on her, she's going to have a completely different perspective on the power that the Master can hold over someone. So that would have been really, really interesting to see. It's a shame that we didn't.
But hey, she'll coming back, and maybe she'll have more to do. So don't worry, there's plenty to look forward to. Yeah, get excited, folks. What do you guys think of the Joneses and the Doctor's little kind of escape plan? Get the laser screwdriver. They're all saying 3 to each other as they walk about the valley. What do you think about this?
I just think it's very telling for something that I've been harping on about since we started this podcast, that the Doctor's instinct is to grab a screwdriver to fix a problem. He's like, just give me his jacket. He's got I'll get the screwdriver and everything. I'll point it at the problem and the problem will go away. Which is, a silly joke, but I think a more sad way to look at it is they have that scene about how, like, when it doesn't work, the Master has reduced the Doctor to someone that is willing to hold a weapon, point it at someone, and threaten him with it, just because he's got no other means of trying to get one up on him in this scenario. And also, it's very within Jack's character to be the only person not to use the 3-finger symbol and just do an obvious wink at Tish instead. But yeah, sorry, Catherine, what did you think about it?
I was just going to say, I think they gave Clive, Martha's dad, and Jack busy work, because I don't think they had a lot to actually do. Like, he just threw some water, and then suddenly he threw one bucket of water at a pipe, and suddenly the entire Valiant's alarm system was going off.
That was my favorite scene. Yeah, I love that so much. I literally have a note that says Clive threw a bucket of water on some pipes and they blew up. Like, I don't know how sparks were formed because he threw some water on some pipes, but I love it. It's great stuff. It was hilarious to see.
I will hand wave it by saying that I'd imagine general maintenance has been left unattended to on the Valiant in the past year. But I'm reaching. I know I'm reaching.
Okay. But sparks from water on a pipe, that still seems like pretty wild stuff. But yeah, so obviously it doesn't go to plan. The master, well, the laser screwdriver is isomorphic, so it only works for the master. Apparently, that's just like, where did you pull that one from, Russell? That's just a little quick thing there, which I say enjoy. I don't enjoy, but it is what it is. And then we get a fun little video transmission of kind of the Doctor's punishment because of that.
Before that, we've kind of just focused on the Valiant, but in between all of that, it is going back and forth between kind of the state of the world. Martha meets up with a doctor who
Martha and Tom Milligan, aka the most blandest man in existence. So,
leave him alone. He's nice.
I have a note where it's here. Just one of my notes is just straight up, Tom Milligan is a fucking idiot. Get a grip. That's just one of my notes. I was very pessimistic at one point, but yeah.
You were in this episode. You were like, I've immediately remembered why I don't like this. And then Tom Milligan, the loveliest man ever, by the way, walks on the screen, and Nathan's like, and this guy's a fucking idiot as well. I hate this guy.
Is he the loveliest man ever, or does he just not have a personality?
He seems nice. He likes Martha. He seems to really respect her. And, sometimes that's a good thing, given what we've seen for the rest of the season.
I don't know. I think he just, it almost seems like he's fallen in love with Martha after, 12 hours or whatever. And, I get it. She's great. She's, funny. Yeah, sorry. Look, she is great. I get it. But, come on, man.
Something to consider. Martha is a world-renowned savior. She is literally a myth to these people. So he's probably seeing her and his little shy energy, and then he sees her and he's like, I think she's kind of attractive as well. I want to see her with that perception filter and all of this, right? They're flirting, and it's nice, and it seems mature, and Martha isn't pining over him. It's very much the other way round, and like you said in 42, I think Martha is entitled to a bit of that, and is within her right to be like, yeah, cool.
Yeah, maybe not at the end of the world though, when there's bigger stuff to think about, really.
Nathan, she's travelled the entire world in a year. She can flirt for 5 seconds. She's fine. It's allowed.
To be honest, my issue's not with Martha having a flirt, it's with Tom. Sorry, Catherine, what were you saying?
Can a woman not have a hobby? Come on now.
God forbid women have hobbies.
No, but I think it's even odder from Martha. I never want to criticize her, but she's known this man 5 minutes. The master has spies everywhere, and she's giving him all the information. Yeah. It's like, this is my perception filter. This is where I've been. This is what I've been up to.
It is very much like, audience, here's what's going on. If you've just sat down at the sofa and you didn't see last one, then this is what's up. I do think it's fun that you get to hear a bit more about this master and what he spent his year doing, because while he's been up on the Valiant being sexist and living the same day every day, he's also had himself put on Mount Rushmore, and he's also put just erected statues of himself across the entire world, which I think it's very fun. I think we've joked a lot this season this whole past season on the show, about like the hubris and the ego of a Time Lord, and how the Doctor romanticizes Gallifrey, and he envisions his people as he very much sugarcoats them to everyone that he speaks to about them, and it's just nice to be like, oh, this guy's come into this point in history and just fucked it up. And then later on, there's even a line about how it's his like divine right as a Time Lord to do that if he wants to. And I think it's interesting, but it's also very silly to imagine him on Mount Rushmore.
It's very in keeping with the Master to be extremely problematic and want to put himself on Mount Rushmore, which is already pretty problematic. So, yeah, that makes sense, I guess. That makes sense to me. Yeah. And it's pretty stupid. What do you think about that, Catherine?
It's fun to imagine the admin meetings. What designs did he approve? What did he turn down? What was important to him?
I like that a lot. Because there's that big statue of him just stood there in his suit, and he was like, and I'd imagine he'd had to like approve that and see like which outfit he would wear and that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's fun to think about.
Oh, when you raise the question of admin on the Valiant and everything, like, and he came here with one black suit. What's that situation like? What's going on? I understand he's probably like, as gross as it is to say, he's probably not too concerned for everyone else's clothing, but like Lucy seemingly has one red dress, he has one black suit. What's going on there?
He has one black suit and one silk dressing gown, as far as
it does. A hairless chest, which I was surprised at. I thought John Sim would be packing a bit of hair.
No, maybe he was still in his he was still in a little bit of a, well, he wasn't exactly young, but younger twink era.
That's true.
So.
Yeah, he's got a goatee later on, doesn't he?
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about Martha, Catherine, and just tell us why you love her so much? I mean, it's obvious why, 'cause she's great, but like, tell us your thoughts on Martha.
She's such a great companion, and like and anytime there is a female character that I feel gets shat on unnecessarily, I become incredibly defensive of them, and Martha Jones just fall into that category.
I think she does too, yeah.
She's so smart. I love that she has like a job and a life, and she's really like centered around her family, and like the Doctor isn't like her be all and end all. Like I love the companions that want to travel with the Doctor forever, but I like that for her, she's always about going back and finishing her exams and carrying on. And I love that she's like, I don't know, fun and flirty, like across the galaxy, and just like there to have a good time, even though largely she's been trapped on Earth for most of her travels.
Yeah. And so what do you think about, like, because a big part of this season is her, you know, she's obviously got a bit of a crush on the Doctor and trying to deal with that aspect of it. How do you feel about the way that's kind of been handled and how it is handled in this episode?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is like why most people don't like the show almost doesn't set her up for success, given that Rose was such a popular character, and then she comes in and is like constantly compared to her, and even like by the Doctor himself put down. I think at one point he's like, oh, I wish Rose was here. Like, it's insane. I think it's unfortunate that her storyline comes right after we've already had a companion been in love with the Doctor, because I think it's really a real thing, and I challenge anyone to not spend 20 minutes with David Tennant and fancy him. I think that's just normal.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then
side note, did you see what Georgia Tennant put out on Instagram this week? It was it was one of their kids' birthdays, and she put out a post on Instagram just saying happy birthday. Something like, I'm sorry I can never resist your dad, especially when I've had a wine, or something like that. And it was just like, yeah, that's very relatable, Georgia. I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, I love them. But I think she's probably about like 23, right? Because she's not quite finished her uni. So she's really young. And I think it's such a 23-year-old thing to fancy the wrong person. And if we all could only have the grace of Martha Jones to take ourselves out of the situation and to walk away from it and to be like, no, I've learned more. I wish I did that at 23. So I think like that side of it I really love. And it's a shame that it's kind of sandwiched in between like multiple companions being in love with the Doctor, or like him seeing and kissing Madame de Pompadour. It seems like it's just repeating what's been done before.
I think, the biggest crime of season 3 really is just the way that sort of stuff is handled, because we've talked about it throughout this series, just the way that she is constantly compared to Rose, and the Doctor is just like, oh, Rose would know what to do. I wish Rose was here. And he's pining after her all the time. And it's just like, oh, move on, man. Get a fucking grip. Like, I like Rose, but by the end of this season, I was really starting to resent her just because of what the Doctor was just constantly moping about for her. Like, I know you liked her, but move on, man. Anyway, yeah. We'll talk more about Martha's, like, her departure a little bit later, but that's probably one of my favorite moments of this episode as a whole. What happens next, Lawrence? Where are we?
The Doctor becomes a weird CGI testicle head man.
Okay, that is one way to describe it, I guess.
Otherwise known as the ultra rare Doctor from Battles in Time trading cards. I believe he was a super rare shiny.
I think I might have him. I got a pack somewhere. So.
You probably do. Is this one of your big bugbearers, Nathan? Is this one of the main reasons why you think this is a stupid episode?
I mean, it doesn't help, does it? It's so stupid, man. Like, I don't understand the decision to make him a weird little Gollum Yoda creature thing. It just seems like such a strange choice, and the fact that he's wearing a little brown pinstripe, like, little pajama set, so it looks like his regular suit, but it's not. It's so weird. I don't get it. What do you think about this, Catherine?
It's fucking weird. I can't defend this. It's bizarre. Also, what really took me out of it, he's like a foot tall, but he still has David Tennant's voice. So you still have like a mass voice coming from this tiny body.
Yeah.
I think one of the funniest moments in this entire fucking episode is when it, like, the camera slowly, like, zooms in on him, and he's like, it's at the end, so I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but he's like transforming, he's regaining himself, and he's like, I've had an entire year to attune my mind with the matrices of the network, and it's like, you are, like, if the Master was quick, he could have just booted him, and it would have, like, likely solved his problem. Insane choice, I think, because Catherine, you're hitting on something that, like, I felt as well. Like, when David Tennant was old, but still a man, and still, like, just an old man, but older, you still could see Tennant's performance, and it's still, you got the point that he was a Doctor that was really powerless and had been kind of, like, degraded by the Master and, like, paraded around as a pet rather than anyone that can actually solve this problem. And I think when you make him a weird CGI thing, it removes, like, any realism to the performance. Where, like, there's scenes where the Master comes in to talk to him at night in his dressing gown, and he's, like, having a serious conversation that should feel real. But every time it cuts back to him and his bug eyes and his weird little head, I'm just like, I can't take this seriously. And I wish I could. If I close my eyes, I'd probably have an easier time. It's nuts. It's such an insane choice.
He's in a little cage as well, like fucking Tweety Pie or whatever. He's just, like, grabbing onto the bars like a prisoner, and he's, like, just looking in John Sims' big face while he's holding onto the bars like that. It's so ridiculous, man. I don't understand it. One of my notes here is just little Gollum Yoda Doctor is so fucking weird. What was Russell cooking? Because I don't understand him.
The Master needs to pick a pet vibe. He can have the Doctor as either a dog in his little teepee bed, or he can have him as, like, a pet parrot. He can't have both. It doesn't make any sense.
And is this a thing that all Time Lords go through? Like, if an incarnation of the Doctor lives for so long, will they eventually become a little weird gremlin thing?
I don't know.
I don't think so, because, like, Matt Smith's Doctor lived for a really long amount of time, I swear. He didn't become a weird goblin man. I think he just got white hair. Like, it just is left alone for him.
He died of old age.
Yeah.
I think it's implied that the first Doctor mostly died of old age. So, yeah, I don't know. Odd stuff. I don't like it. If I'm being honest, I don't like it at all.
It's never been explored since, and I think we spoke about the regeneration and how, like, there are some things that were obviously ideas or lore that was being established, and how sometimes they just go, we dropped the ball on that one. We're not going to revisit that one. So it's a weird little thing from season 3. Ignore it.
Do you know what else is weird? Although I like this a little bit more, but it's still a little odd if you think about it for more than 5 minutes. The Toclafane are actually the people from the future, the Utopia crowd. What do you think about this, Catherine? What are your thoughts?
Skies are made of diamonds. That little kid that won a competition. Oh, actually, this episode has so many flashbacks. Endless. Endless.
With that sound effect after each one.
Like, they had no faith in the audience for this at all. I think it's like a cool concept, not in actuality. Though I will say, not to get onto a later topic, it does show that human beings can just be a head.
Yeah. I don't know. You're more scientific than us, Catherine. I don't know how accurate that is. I'm guessing not very, though. So,
in the world of Doctor Who, man.
It's true. It's true. What's even more baffling than that to me is the fact that his accent seemingly changed for no reason at all. He's gone from a very Scottish little boy to a very, very British older man. Well, English, I should say. Sorry, but yeah, it just seems quite strange. But yeah,
it's a real pompous vibe as well. Like, he's like, "Why? We're your own kind. Why kill so many of us?" And he's like, "Because it's fun."
The skies are made of diamonds. Yeah,
it's real silly. I had a thought about that reveal and how, like, because I'm there as well, and I'm looking at a silly head in a sphere that is like a killing machine, and I'm like, this is one of the more experimental concepts of the episode for sure. But it did make me sad because I thought back to Utopia and how, like, there's on one side when they've just been chased by the future kind and they get into that what is essentially like a compound of refugees all waiting to fly off to a better life, and how Martha, Jack, and the Doctor are so chuffed, and they dedicate like a full couple of minutes in the episode to them saying the humans just go on, they just keep finding a way, and they keep living. And that's like, when you consider it and their placement in this episode and the story at large, they did just go on and keep living. But when another Time Lord was at the hands of that being orchestrated, it's just so horrific. And like I know that the Time Lords in general are not a great species, but like I'd rather the Doctor handled my future than the Master if I was one of those guys, basically.
Yeah, and it's something that I do like about this episode is so much of it is like, it's lots of goofy bits, but some of it is like fucking dark. Like the labor camps on Earth, that's fucking dark. This idea in this family show that they couldn't save the universe and all the human race was doomed to die and the universe will come to an end and there is nothing anything can ever do about it. That's fucking brutal to like bring up on a Saturday night.
Everyone's just finished Ant and Dec's Saturday night takeaway. They're all in a great mood. And then, like, the opening of this episode is like, Earth is extinct. Don't come here. To any other space travelers out there, don't come here. This is on the way out.
Who's doing that message? Who's declaring planet Earth is closed? What's going on there?
Yeah, it does.
I don't know.
It opens up a wider set of questions, which I don't think any of us are prepared for.
No, I don't mind it. I'd like to know where it comes from. It's interesting, at least. There is some extremely dark stuff. I like that's kind of mentioned that. I would like to have seen more of it, but yeah, maybe not the right vibe for a family show at 7 p.m. But still, maybe could have been explored a little bit further. While that's going on, because we do get the scene of like the reveal of the Toclafane, but then we also get the Master at the same time kind of telling us a little bit about his visit to Utopia and how it was just awful, really. Just like furnaces and just desolate wastelands and just people not surviving at all, just barely getting by. I thought that was quite interesting and stuff, that he took Lucy there and they like then just decided to murder everyone, I guess, but that's quite interesting.
I mean, it will fuck you up seeing the end of everything. Like, you're not going to be okay after that.
Yeah.
I do think it's like it's a convenience that this was never something we saw in the show, because the hand waving done in a 2-minute scene is like the Master's like they went there and they all went so insane that they all became children at the same time and they all got this kind of vibe going on.
Yeah.
Like it's very like you couldn't show that. It just has to be something that you're either along for the ride with the concept or you just don't get on board with it, and that's that.
Really. I always forget that they mentally regress to children. That's always very strange, really, isn't it? Yeah, but also murderous children, because they're always very happy to just murder anyone. So, yeah, I guess that's like the Master's influence. But what do you think about this idea of a gun? Put your chemicals in a gun, kill a Time Lord.
Keep bringing up all these goofy things, trying to make me say negative things about this episode.
To be fair, it's not real. Or
yeah,
I mean, she has it though. So like, I
is it definitely not real, or was she finding it anyway?
I think maybe she's just got like a prop or like something that looks like it to sell the story or something. But yeah, I don't think it's real, because also like we know that like you don't need a special gun to kill a Time Lord. Even in this episode, Lucy just shoots him and that's it. It's done. Like you don't need it. Even if he does start to regenerate, just shoot him again. You're fine. You got a few seconds. Like just put a few bullets in him.
Just empty the clip bit by bit after each regeneration. It's like,
exactly. Yeah. You don't need a special gun, so it is weird. Yeah. What happens next, Lawrence?
Well, I was just gonna say on that before we move on. I think it does play into like human nature a little bit, not as in actual human nature, not the episode Human Nature.
You got excited then.
Yeah. It's Tim. Tim's here with the gun.
He's back. I knew it. I knew he was back.
Nathan's vindicated. No, I don't know. I feel like it does play into human nature. Like if the Master earlier on shrugs off this idea of prayer and this idea of goodwill, and like how thoughts and a certain degree of like kindness and belief can go a long way. I think that's not what's practically needed. I think for Martha to travel the world with resources and assistance, you need to just go along with this concept of I'm gonna kill him. Because if she said what the Doctor's plan was, I'm gonna forgive him and keep him on the TARDIS as a mate that I can talk to occasionally or something, no one's helping her. So I think Martha's very like tactical and cunning in the way that she moves in this. Like you get let's just go on to it, I suppose. They go and see Professor Doherty, who is, I think, quite an interesting character. But I'm curious to hear what you guys think about her.
No, yeah, I would agree. I do think she's interesting. Seems to be obviously quite an intelligent woman. She's somehow managed to survive this long getting by, and we later find out that she's got a son who she's not sure is alive or something. I like her as a character. I just think, again, I feel like this episode is very quick. I feel like a lot of this episode is like resolved very quickly, because like by the time we got to the Doctor doing his fucking Jesus moment, I was like, already are we here? Like, and then it's just a lot of like wrap up in the back end of it, I feel like. So I feel like it could have benefited from spending more time on these moments, because what we got with Doherty I liked, but I would think it would have benefited from a bit more, basically.
I agree. I think the episode needed more time in all. I don't really feel we needed it with Professor Doherty, because I thought, as I was saying earlier, she did a lot with what she was given, and like that moment with the end with her and Martha where she's like, can you do it, because you don't look like a killer. I thought like that moment was like very strong, and then that clearly shows like why she decided to rat them out, is she didn't believe that Martha could do it. And I thought that was a really nice moment between like the two of them and Martha's character.
Catherine, it's like you kind of read the note off of my page. Like it's I genuinely really, really enjoy that scene, because it's basically her going, is my son's life worth this gamble? Do I believe in this woman enough to take a chance? And again, it touches in on that idea later on in the episode, like belief is everything. Like the whole episode does come down to a prayer, essentially. As much as the Master does shrug it off, it does always come down to like, can you trust someone and put all of your faith in one person to get this right? Should it have been the Doctor? No, but it was. so it's fine. No, I really, really like the scene. Nathan, I was interested in what you were saying about how you would have liked to have seen more of like those kind of those moments on Earth where you can tangibly feel how fucked it's become since a year has passed. I do think there's certain imagery of like the Master in his creepy little villain trench coat walking down an empty, deserted street with soldiers. And then his little air football soldiers as well up a bit. I think there's some imagery there, and like
that whole sequence is quite good. Yeah, I really enjoy when they do go to the slave quarters in Bexley Heath or whatever, and there's 100 packed into a little fucking 2-bed council house, and it's just wall to wall people all in like rags huddled together, just trying to get any rest they can before the ship's off to the fucking the missile fields tomorrow morning or whatever. All of that is like, that's good. That's like really fucking dark and haunting shit and very interesting. I enjoy all of that. I don't enjoy the weird guy who's like, "Are you Martha Jones? Are you gonna save us, Martha Jones? He's here, our Lord and Master. He walks among us, Martha Jones." He always annoys me.
Nathan, we can talk about him now, or we can talk about him in a bit. All right.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about him a little later then, I guess. But look, yeah, maybe not some of the best acting there, but look, overall, I feel like that whole sequence is quite haunting and chilling, really, and probably some of the better stuff of the episode.
There's a moment when Martha's like leaving to go out and meet the Master, and she just has like a turn back and like a little smile to all the people that like she's working to save, and like that was like a teeny tiny moment that I thought was done so well. I thought Threema was just great in this episode.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
For sure.
I feel like, again, I think this is when I wrote my note that Tom Milligan is a fucking idiot, because the way he just charges out the door, just like, no, and then just immediately gets put. He didn't even fire a single shot. He just ran with his gun in the air and then just immediately got killed. And the Master just pulled a little face like, oh, what an idiot. Like, he's right. He is an idiot.
Nathan, it's called passion. It's called rational thinking goes out of the window when you want to protect someone that you care about or that you think is important or more important.
I get the, yes, Martha is extremely important, but what was he hoping to at least fire a shot, man? Dude was just running and screaming, just holding his gun, but didn't do anything about it.
Nathan sat here like he would have been at the letterbox doing sniper elite fucking shots at the Master.
I would have at least fired a shot, not just immediately gave away my position, screamed and ran towards him with a gun in the air. Come on, man.
I didn't even understand why he had a gun. Like, he's a doctor. Did he have it before? Where did this like magic gun come from? Maybe he had no bullets.
That's a good point. Yeah. I don't think it was mentioned until the Toclophane scene, was it? When he was like, "I'm gonna shoot a Toclophane" or whatever.
Yeah. Speaking of it, I love that scene because it's set up. They control any military action. So he draws them there by firing a few shots. I think one would have cut it anyway, but like he fires a few rounds in the air, and he runs back to that little bit where they plan on zapping however many volts or whatever into the Toclophane to bring it down. It's incredibly lucky that these machines that can fly just aimed for that tiny little gap and window where they would have been zapped. Like if they were a meter either side of it in any direction, they're all dead. They're just all dead.
That's very true.
But yeah,
it is what it is. I'm happy to hand wave that sort of stuff.
But God forbid Tom Milligan expresses emotion, says Nathan.
No, even the moment like when Martha's like telling them all about the Doctor and stuff, and then she's like, "And I love him," and then Tom has that like heartbroken look on his face, like, "Oh, she doesn't love me. She loves the Doctor." Like, you've known her an hour, dude.
I don't think it was she doesn't love me. I think it was, oh, maybe she's spoken for. Not like, why isn't she in love with me already?
I was picking up all these vibes that Martha was laying down.
That's how I read it, and that's the vibe Tom gives off to me. He's a himbo. He just seems like he's not a him. He's a doctor. How is he a himbo?
He's all right. Right, I understand he has an education, but everything he has to do in this episode is very himbo, and he looks like a himbo. You know, he's this kind of big guy, a big handsome guy with a little bit of a stubbly beard going on. He's a himbo.
He's handsome. He's hot. I'll give him that. All right. I'm not denying any of that. He's just, I think he just doesn't have like the best personality or characterization about him. I think he's just a little bland, personally.
All right, but Martha gives herself up.
Yes.
Martha steps outside. I love this because she's there, and like once you've seen this episode, even just once, rewatching it, it's such a joy because she has to play that she's like, oh, I've been caught. Oh no, don't take me to the Valiant. Oh, and the Master's like, he's so smug and like, you know, drop the bag on the floor and he blows up the gun and he's like, I'm the Master. And it's like, Martha's there the entire time like, this guy's such a fucking it. She knows by now all about how to get around a Time Lord's fragile ego. And she's just being like, yeah, come on, take me to the Valiant. I got some stuff to do.
That's true.
Do you think, because we get several flashbacks to what the Doctor whispered in her ear, if you had that information, would you have enough pieces to be able to put together what the fuck you were meant to do?
4 words, wait for the countdown. And then just like, oh yeah, I've clocked it. Now I know what to do. Cheers, Doctor. Could not have been more vague if he tried.
Yeah.
I like what you're saying there, Lawrence. Like, Martha's had a lot of practice dealing with a Time Lord's ego. So she kind of knows how to work this guy at this point.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is quite interesting. And then we get to the Valiant, and this is this whole sequence is, well, there's a lot to it, isn't there? There's a lot going on here. I do enjoy the way that like Martha is like walked in as like, Martha's kind of framed as like the big hero of this episode, which I enjoy quite a lot. And then like the Master is giving this speech, kind of just like degrading her almost, making her seem like she's not as good as, like, you know, he's saying, oh, time was, Doctor, you had companions who could, oh, who's he mentioned is Rose, she could absorb the time vortex and all this sort of stuff, and it's like, come on, man. But yeah, the way like Martha is kind of put up on a pedestal a little bit to her family and stuff during this Valiant sequence, I like that. That's interesting. That's something good before everything else that happens in this scene. But yeah, I enjoy that.
I really like that it's... You can inject this into my fucking veins, right, this scene. Because they're...
All of it?
Yeah, right, because listen, because the Master's there like, oh, you had... And the way John Sim speaks with such a shit-eating, punchable fucking cadence to him that, like, every time he opens his mouth, you're just like, shut up, you fucking suck. But you also love it. And he's like, oh, time was you could have companions absorb the time vortex for you, and he's bigging up Rose, and it's the, what I really enjoy about that is it's just the final fuck you to Martha, and then Martha ratios him into next fucking century. Martha's like, I have had enough of this fucking person being brought up. Die, basically. I love it. It's great. It's great. What do you think, Catherine?
I fucking love it too. Like right before the bit that I suspect Nathan has a problem with, right, the music swelling, like Martha has this cocky little laugh, like it's all coming together. She is just so confident, and then we get our matrices moment.
In terms of showrunners, I think a lot of people would or did say that Stephen Moffat often writes the Doctor as an infallible god. And what I would say is take a look at Series 3, Episode 13, and just see what happens around about the 30-minute mark or whatever. This whole sequence is completely fucking nuts. And none of it makes sense. And all right, so let's break this down. All right, so we got everyone ever, I guess, all around the world just saying the words Doctor, and because the Doctor has somehow spent a year tuning his brain into the Archangel network, thank you, Jack, for the reminder, we know that he's somehow able to transform himself into a flying blue force ghost god, and then he can use telekinesis powers to stop like guns being shot at him, and then he can fly across. What the fuck is going on in this scene? Someone, please tell me what is happening.
I think it would be an easier pill to swallow if the thing that had given him this power wasn't just 15 regular satellites. And the power of
15
prayer.
seems like a very small number of satellites as well.
It does, and I'm with you. I don't care. It doesn't have to make sense. It's fucking cool. Murray Gold is just fucking spitting fire, and there's silly little shots of Tennant's Converse landing on the ground, and it's like it's fucking. I just like it. It comes together, and it's such a. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not the right person to critically analyze this, right? Because I can't. I just think it's cool when I'm watching it going, yeah, fuck yeah.
Catherine, please, your thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay, I think there's two parts to this. There's hope and prayer saving the day, which I do like, and I do think is very Doctor Who. Like, I think it's been such a dark episode. The human race has been decimated. Japan is burnt. People are being tortured. And I like the idea that after all of this, love is what saves, and like that is where the power comes from. So I like that bit. The Doctor becoming blue and flying and having magical powers, I think they went too far, and I think Russell should have just gone, maybe he could just be regular Doctor again, and that would be enough. But no, he's got to fly around and shoot lasers out of path.
I know what you're saying about like the whole love and hope and prayer thing, because usually that's something I'm all on board for. And I have this thing where I call that Doctor Who magic, okay? I have this thing I call Doctor Who magic, which is like any moment like that, I fucking eat it up. Like I always point to the Everybody Lives in the gas mask chat. I forgot the name of the episode, but that moment in An Unearthly Child, is it that one? Or something like that. I just love those moments of like celebration where it's like, yeah, everyone lives and we get this just big like human victory and it's all about love and all that sort of stuff. I love that. I don't hear though. I don't know what it is. I think it's just something to do with the framing where I don't buy any of it. And the way that it's just like he's wrapped up and turns into some weird flying all-powerful force ghost god, that's just like the nail in the coffin for me. I'm just like, and what you were saying, Lawrence, about like, you know, just like eating up this cheesy shit that makes no sense. Again, yeah, give me that in like a weird fucking one-off episode. I'll eat it up all day long. Give me it in a big finale where you're making it seem like the most serious, like epic moment ever. I'm like, oh no, it's just a little cringe though, isn't it? I don't know. I think it's the way it's presented to me, which I have an issue with, I think.
There is certainly an aspect of this where, like, I'm fully aware that if I show this to someone that's never watched Doctor Who, they're gonna go, "What the fuck is this? This is terrible, and this makes no sense." Yeah. I can put myself in that headspace and understand it, but and you'll feel vindicated here because I'll finally admit it. There is absolutely an element of nostalgia of me watching this as a kid and just fucking fist pumping the air, being like, "This is the coolest thing ever." David Tennant's Doctor is now flying, like, or as much as like his little stunt rig was allowing him to fly.
The little wire work carrying it across the room,
But I think there is my problem with it. I've got three tiny things I could say about it. One of them's a little bit bigger, I suppose. The first one is that it's a weird mix of the satellites. Satellites don't do this. We have satellites. They don't do this. They can't do this.
Well, to be fair, how often have you tuned yourself into the satellites and their matrices?
It's true. I mean, I've never given it a go.
Well, there you go. See?
But I have been working on something for this episode, and guys, if you'd like to pay attention for just a moment, I've been tuning myself in.
Oh, he's blue. He's blue. He's gone blue.
No, this isn't. This isn't visual. No one else can see this, but just know that I'm doing it now.
His Converse is landing on the table.
I've stopped it now. It only lasts for a minute. But yeah, and that's my first thing. My second thing is I think it design of it just goes that little bit too far. It just takes that little bit of an extra step in terms of what people are willing to accept out of cheesiness and silliness. Like what you're saying about the everybody lives moment, that's just the Ninth Doctor saying that to people. And that's, there is a little bit of gold and a bit of glowing and a bit of special effects, but it's not anything too kind of egregious.
That's what I'm saying. I think it is the presentation of it, the way it's it's given to me, which I don't quite enjoy. The cage disintegrates. That made me fucking burst out laughing. Where the little CGI Doctor's cage just starts disintegrating as he starts to transform first of all, into the older Doctor, and then into the younger Doctor again. So,
do you like that moment when they use the same regeneration effect for David Tennant's hair to appear? When he's Eccleston to Tennant and there's that close up and his hair grows, and then he leans his head forward. They do the same thing where his hair just kind of fades in and grows. And like, I edit for a job. I know how they did it, and it's silly. It's very silly because they've just turned like the visibility of the fucking thing down and then just scaled it up whilst they turned the visibility up. It's fucking silly. Does anyone think it should have been Martha?
What, who turned into a big ghost?
Right, not turned into a ghost necessarily, but had this moment.
I don't think she needs it. Like, I think she had enough of a moment the whole episode.
Yeah.
Like, she saved the day, not the Doctor. And I think if she went around the earth and went, think of me, Martha Jones, I think that loses kind of a little bit of the selflessness of the act.
That's very true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm coming at it from the point of view of like, everyone already kind of deifies her. Everyone's already sat. I just think the writing gets a bit confused. I completely get your point, and I don't think I just don't think either of them would have worked that well for this moment. Make no mistake, I love it. I still think it's the coolest thing ever. But yeah, just because the entire world is already speaking about Martha. There's stories of you're the only one to get out of Japan alive, and all of this, and rumor has it you're the only one that could ever kill him, and it feels weird for them to be like, Martha has been on everyone's lips across the entire planet, and then the physical act of a word coming out of everyone on the planet's lips is not Martha. Seems weird to me.
I mean, we talked a lot this series about like how the 10th Doctor is just, he has the biggest fucking ego, and he's such a dickhead, and like his plan was just to get Martha to go all over the world and tell everyone about him and tell them how great he is and how amazing he is and how he's gonna save their life, and they should all worship it. They should all literally worship and praise him at this specific moment so he can literally be a god. Like, come on, man. This is just a bit... That's a bit much if you ask me, but... I don't know. But look, the day is not saved there. There's still some shenanigans afoot. The Master and the Doctor get transported to Zack Snyder's color-graded world where there's some missiles, and it's... I don't know, the color filler's off. Something's going on here. It just looks quite odd.
This has all the makings of it was filmed on a sunny day and it looked too good. So they turned it down in post.
Yeah.
I don't like that scene. I think that scene's weird. It just like
it's
the
so
day was saved. Yeah, the day.
Yeah.
Because it's funny that you say like the day isn't yet saved. It is.
Yeah.
And then the Master goes, well then, if I can't fucking rule the world or whatever, no one can. And the Doctor's like, they can't though, and you're not going to do it. And then he's like, yeah, you're right. You caught me on it. Gives him the thing, and then 5 minutes later, he's like, I guess I can do it, and you don't know me so well. And I'm like, all right, dude. I felt like that was a departure from the episode, which is weird, because this episode is longer than other ones and still feels rushed in places.
Yeah, I don't think it was needed. And it especially wasn't needed to take them off the Valiant to only then go right back to the Valiant, just so they could have like a little tussle in the ground. That was it. That was the whole point of it.
It literally achieved nothing. It was just like, let's go here. We'll have a little tussle for 2 seconds. I'm going to kill you, Doctor. I'm going to kill us all. No, you won't. Yeah, you're right. I won't. Okay, let's go back to the Valiant. And that's it. It's just, It's so unnecessary.
I think the cooler threat that is still looming from the episode is the fact that there are 6 billion spheres, or depending on the episode, 3 spheres that are going to protect the TARDIS. As basically it now all hinges on the paradox, right? The day is not, the Master has been thwarted and is able to be put back in his place, but you know, the planet is still going extinct. Humans are still large part dead, and the world is still fucked. What do you guys make of this resolution?
I think the funny thing about it to me is always just the fact that Jack just immediately springs into action. He's going to go take down the paradox machine. He's like, "You guards who have been torturing me for the last year, come with me." And they're like, "Yeah, right. No worries, mate. Yeah, we'll do that." I guess we answer to you now. No worries.
What was it 6 billion spears? That's so fucking many. They shouldn't be able to like it. I just don't think they understand how big a billion is. Like they shouldn't be able to move for Toclafane in the sky if all of them are coming to the Valiant. Like it's an insane number to pick. And then Jack decides the way to break a paradox machine is just to shoot a gun at it, and that works.
I mean, it worked. It saved the day. Like, I don't know how, but it did.
This is something that, like, I don't know if this is just more nostalgia for this moment, right? But I'm not critical of this at all, right? You know, this is jumping forward in terms of where we're at in the podcast, but, like, the Stolen Earth, like, something about Gwen just fucking ripping machine gun bullets into basically nothing and just screaming. And then the same with, like, just a dirty Jack that hasn't showered in a year, just seeing a big machine and going, "Torchwood time," and fucking shooting it with a gun. Like, I don't know. I just love that all of their problems are typically solved by just spraying and praying, which is what he does. Again, that moment where he's with the guards and the guards are like, "We can't go out there, we'll get slaughtered." And Jack's like, "Yeah, it happens to me a lot." And then doesn't happen to him and there's no one firing back at him. Like, it's silly. And I like it.
I don't know. Should we talk about the death of the Master? Any thoughts? When I first watched this, I remember specifically this episode of Doctor Who was the first episode I ever cried at when I watched it as a kid. I didn't cry when Rose left for whatever reason. I don't know. It's weird because I'm a lot more emotionally vulnerable now than I was as a child. Like, as a child, I could watch anything and be like, "It's fine. I don't care." And it just didn't bother me. Now, the slightest emotional thing, I'm like, "Oh my fucking God." I watched Dungeons and Dragons the other night and cried and bawled like a baby at one particular scene towards the end, which is pretty fucking stupid. I had a good time with it though. This was the first time I ever cried at Doctor Who. And I think it's purely because of David Tennant's performance, because David Tennant's performance really sells what happens here. It's kind of the strength of this whole scene. As ridiculous as it is, this is kind of like a nice little moment within all that, I think.
It is Tennant's performance, and it is that moment where you see, he's so vulnerable because, and we make our jokes and we say that he's been the kind of bloke that he's been this past season, but his entire thing since Rose left is being alone and not being able to open up. Like, and he always holds, I think it does get better, but he does hold Martha at arm's length for a while, and he still doesn't really allow himself to be fully, like, truthful around her, with regards to, like, certain things. And then, like, having another Time Lord being there, but the cruelty of it being the one that is the worst and, like, sucks historically. And then having even that get taken from him is just the moment where, like, essentially the lights go out on the Master, and that moment just hits Tennant's face like a fucking, like, just a brick, and it drops, and he's vacant, right? He's emotionless. He expresses himself, obviously, but he's done. Like, you just feel like he's dead inside from that moment. But yeah, I loved it. What do you think, Catherine?
Yeah, I mean, David Tennant is a fantastic actor. Like, the chemistry, or like the relationship between him and John Sim in this is incredible. Given that they have not that much screen time together across the episodes. Like last week they had that amazing scene, but it was like through a phone. Like actual time on screen where he's not an old man or a little monster is so low, but it's still so good. And like I would come away from the episode thinking, God, David Tennant and Johnson have had amazing chemistry in it. And they had next to no scenes together, but this one is fantastic. And like it is heartbreaking. I think I probably did cry at it. When I first watched it, I am a crier and have cried at many episodes of Doctor Who.
I think there's like something in the fact that how he's just like he defeats him in the first. I know it's like a thing that's been established that was going to happen in the episode, the whole like forgiving him kind of thing. And we joked last week about how like he could be fixed and like how the Doctor's like, I can fix him like a toxic ex or whatever. But like there is something so telling about whenever he does get close to the Master, he holds him. And like there's just like, call it visual storytelling or whatever. Maybe it was intended, maybe it wasn't. But like there is something about Tennant just fucking holding on to any kind of thing that he can take back for himself. And like he's cradling him as he dies. He's screaming, like basically begging him to regenerate just so, because the alternative is him being alone. He does not care if the Master is alive, I don't think. He just cares that he will be the last.
I think there's some of that, but I also do think he does care if the Master is alive, because it's a very complicated relationship between the two. Sure, they've been like enemies for centuries and decades or whatever, but they were still like childhood friends, and there's still like something about it which I don't think the Doctor can quite let go of. I find it interesting the fact that like what the Doctor was saying, like his plan for the Master is something that eventually comes true with Peter Capaldi's Doctor. That's kind of what happens with him and Missy for a little while. So that's something to look forward to down the road. But yeah, I think it is like there's just something about that relationship which he just can't quite let go of, really.
Do you think a time machine is the only safe place for the Master, or do you think that's the worst place for him to be, where he could cause the most mischief if given the opportunity?
I mean, it's probably a good idea to work up to the time machine, put a bit of work in first, and then when they're ready, when they've made enough progress, let's see where they're going. Yeah, but right off the bat, probably not a good idea. No. But
in New Who, the Master is the only villain that has successfully manipulated and used the TARDIS to commit fucking horrible atrocities. So it is definitely the last time he was left alone in the TARDIS, he found a way to become Prime Minister and decimate most of the Earth. So yeah, probably not the best place for him. I have a question for both of you. And it's been eating away at me since 2007, and I'm curious to hear if it is as distracting of a moment for you guys. Why does John Sim die like that?
What, with his face, you mean?
With his, like, it looks like he's holding his breath, and then he just rolls his eyes back and kind of, it looks like, if he had to make a noise in that moment, it looks like it would be like, ugh.
Yeah.
Or like would be...
It's the little eye bulge for me. The little way they, like... I don't know. It's so strange. It's almost comical. In a scene which is so emotionally weighted, and you got these like powerhouse performances, and David like fighting for his life, just like screaming and holding John Sim, and then it's just a little. You can almost like imagine him going, and then just dying. Yeah, I don't know.
It's weird. Yeah. Just before we move off the death of the Master, one person succeeds, two people do try and shoot him. I have not seen the Francine moment in so long, because Netflix, when they had Doctor Who, they cut it. For some reason, it wasn't in the episode. It was a scene that was just missing, and it was one of them like Mandela effect things for me. For so long, I was like, I fucking knew she picked the gun up. I know she picked the gun up at some point and almost fired. Because that's the sexist remark he makes, always the women. And it's after two women try and shoot at him. Like it's, yeah, I don't know. What do you guys make of that moment? Because it's quite a strong moment for Francine, I think.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I love that actress. She's great. And it feels... So I mean, they keep doing like really good stuff and then really goofy stuff this episode. So it feels like such a like a genuine moment. Like they keep referencing one thing I really like throughout the whole episode. They keep referencing Japan burning. Like clearly it was like a severe like PTSD for the Joneses who were like left aboard the ship, and like even like Tish's like we execute him said so like finally she was just like a normal woman doing like a normal job, and now she's like advocating for someone to be executed. Like that's how much they've been like fucked up by this whole experience.
There's an interesting point as well that we've gone way past it, but like just to touch on it, that Francine and Clive have like reconciled their relationship to a degree, like having been like quite literally put in a cage together and forced to live with each other again. And there is just an element of that, like all the Joneses are just so traumatized from all of this stuff that's gone on. And yeah, it's interesting, and I like that it plays into a big part of Martha's exit.
And it's needed to add stakes to the effort because they rewind time, and like they have to. The Earth is like fucked up. They have to undo what they've done, but by making it so the people in the eye of the storm remember it, and specifically Martha's family, it means that it didn't just not happen. Like people were still affected and still saw like what went on.
I just suddenly thought, do you think like because obviously at the end when Martha there's like the Joneses are all in their living room together, and it's obviously a very tough time for them, I'd imagine. But do you think that Martha's brother Leo is there like, what's wrong with you guys?
No, I wrote a note. How are they going to explain this to Reggie Yates?
Yeah. He must just be there like fucking like he's got his partner and his child, and he's like, you guys, I don't know, we were having fucking Mum's birthday a couple of weeks ago. What's the problem? Oh God.
I never thought about that. Yeah, that's interesting.
It had to have been. It's because they don't do anything with it, so I'd imagine just Reggie Yates wasn't around to film the episode.
It was Reggie Yates. He's busy hosting Radio 2 or whatever he was doing back in 2007. What was he doing?
Such a weird move to cast him to maybe speak twice.
Yeah. But he was in the last episode, which is even weirder. He was in Brighton, wasn't he?
He was on the phone, for like 2 minutes. He was like,
Martha's literally getting a Ford Fiesta riddled with bullets, and Leo's just having a sunshine and happy days, pleasant walk on the pier. And Martha calls him like, "You need to hide," and he's like, "What are you on about? You're crazy, man. Shush." Right, but just before we get onto Martha's exit, how would you guys react if a stranger approached you, gave you flowers, and said, "I don't blame you," and walked away never to see you ever again?
I'd find it pretty odd if I'm being completely honest. I wouldn't have a secret little smile to myself and smell the flowers.
I've seen Doctor Who.
Yeah, I'd say that was very bizarre, and then I'd probably get rid of the flowers because I wouldn't trust them.
Yeah,
they're not coming home with me.
Yeah, absolutely not. Like, what is on these flowers?
That would, I think, the comment as well. Like, "I don't blame you." That would eat at me until my dying day. What did I do? What have I been forgiven for? I don't know. I know Martha was being kind, but I think that would probably have inflicted more pain than joy, to be honest. But yes, the ending. Martha is leaving.
I'm going to stop you right there, Lawrence.
Oh.
I'm going to stop you right there, okay? Because before we get onto that, there's one little scene which we need to discuss first of all. And some might say we've already discussed this moment plenty of times on this podcast, okay? But I think now that we've had the official scene in this episode, we need to talk about Jack's farewell to the Doctor and Martha, and this little bit of information that he gives them. Yeah. He's not the face of Bo, all right? He's not. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what Russell says. I don't care what Jack himself says. There is no part of that man which turns into a big, disembodied psychic head in a jar. All right? I'm not having it.
Catherine, I've done this to death. I've got back up here. This is on you.
I feel like I've been asked to weigh in on my friend's parents' argument or something. Look, Nathan, I have a lot of respect for you.
Oh no.
A lot of affection, but Jack is the face of Bo. Daddy, he is. He is. Like, he
argue
just
with
is.
a wall, man.
He says he is. The face of Bo knows that the master is still out there.
He never says he is the face of Bo. He says the face of Bo they used to call me.
Yeah. No, but like, you are, as the audience, to infer that means he is the face of Bo. You're meant to do the legwork.
I know that's the implication. I understand that's what we're supposed to get out of it, but I refuse. It does not work for me.
The thing I can't grasp about this and your insane stance on this...
I don't think it's insane. I think it's quite reasonable, and I think a lot of people are on my side.
I think you are arguing an indisputable fact that is not the case, and I think... that
fact is strong.
Right, what bothers me is that there is subtext, and this ain't even that. This is outwardly fucking said to the audience, by the way, I'm the face of Bo.
But if he said that, then it would be a different story.
But people don't say that, Nathan. I don't attend this podcast and go, and by the way, my childhood nickname was this. People don't say that.
But, look, if he didn't say it, shut up. Look, it's the way he just says, like, oh, the face of Bo, they called me, and, like, that's it. All right, I get the intention, okay, but there's also so much evidence to the contrary. Number one, how does it become a big fucking head?
But, like, humans have never been alive for that length of time. Who the fuck knows what would happen? Maybe we'd all be big heads. Who knows?
Well,
Nathan.
I would say there's evidence to the contrary of that in Doctor Who, but to be fair, it does come later in the show, so it's hard to argue with it at this point. But I just think there's a lot of evidence to the contrary. Even in Utopia, like Martha says to the Doctor right in front of the Jack, "What did the face of Bo say?" And he has no reaction.
When did this happen?
When Martha, like when Yana was like, "Oh, what's this watch?" And then Martha goes to tell the Doctor about it.
He's taken off a rocket with silly string and paper clips. He's busy.
Yeah, well, he heard. You'd think if you heard his specific childhood nickname that he'd have some sort of reaction.
In your world, where Jack is not the face of Bo, how does he know? How does he know that the you are not alone?
Because he's a big ancient face. He knows a lot of stuff.
That is one thing I will give to Nathan. He is a big wise head. He does know stuff.
Like, I don't think that it needs to be specific that just because Jack was on this adventure, that means that is the only way the face of Bo can possibly know that the Master will come back or whatever.
What if at the end of the episode instead one of the Valiant guards was like, "And I'm the face of Bo, and that's how I know that you are not alone."
Also in series 2, I believe face of Bo like refers to his species as like the Bo kind.
Nathan, what I'm saying is, and I understand your stance, and I know that I'm not changing your mind today. But all I'm saying is, when a character says, "This is my name," it usually infers that is their name, and they play a character who has previously been named that character.
But he didn't say, "This is my name."
Hang on, isn't there a scene in Doctor Who where the Doctor meets a child, and the child's like, "I'm Davros"?
Yeah.
Is he Davros?
Yeah, because Davros is in the exact same episode, and they talk... No, but the difference there is Davros, as we know him, is in the exact same episode, and they talk about that interaction.
All right.
So it clearly is.
Point taken. I'm still right.
I don't know if you are.
Why? Right, before we move off this forever. Forever. This ends today.
Okay, yeah, I'm happy with that. This can end today. Because I don't think it's ever brought up again. So yeah.
No, I don't think so. I want to ask, I'm sure I did ask you this the first time you brought to me this insane thesis.
It's not insane.
It's absolutely insane, but I will stop insulting you for the sake of civility. What's the big problem you have with it? Why don't you want to believe it?
I don't know. I just don't like it.
You're dying on a hill. You don't even fucking understand. It makes no sense.
I know. It's like, yeah, it really does not affect me anyway. It's just, I don't know. It just rubs me the wrong way, I guess. I just don't like it.
Okay. All right, fine. Right. For the sake of us both going insane, and Catherine, you purely have the energy of just like, yeah, that someone's mum and dad are arguing and you're there, like. Let's talk about Martha's exit.
Okay, yes. The actual best scene in the episode, I would say.
Yeah, for sure.
I think. Yeah, 100%. Who wants to lead us off?
Go on, Catherine. Guests' rights.
Oh, I love that it starts with like Ten's absolute denial of the situation, like talking about meeting Agatha Christie. Like he has ignored the situation the entire season, and the fact that he didn't even like, his lesson wasn't to like address it. It comes again from Martha to leave and then come back and be like, wait a second here, this is wrong. Like he needed it completely spelled out to him.
I love the way she comes back. It's kind of like that thing where you like, you know, when you kind of like have a disagreement, like an argument with someone, but it's like resolved too well. It's just like resolved too quickly and it's just not satisfying. Then you're like, oh, I didn't get to shout at them. Fuck this, I'm going back. I'm gonna have another go. And then it's just like, actually, I don't know to tell you how much of a prick you are, really. And she kind of does. So yeah,
it's when you like, you give someone a respectful out in an argument and they actually take it and you're like, no, hang on.
Yeah.
We got some more shit to talk about. I thought you were going to be the bigger person and bring it up, but you didn't.
Yeah.
That's so right, Catherine. I just love the fact that he's like, he's doing what Tennant does best. He's pushing weird knobs and buttons. He's doing a big wheel thing on the TARDIS, and he's like, let's go and do more Doctor Who. And like, he just cannot meet her eye. And the second he does, almost without skipping a beat, he just goes, okay. And he's like, oh, I looked at her and now this is happening. Now this is something I have to think about and do. A great scene. Nathan, what do you love specifically about it?
I just love that it's, we've had a whole season of Martha being like hung up on the Doctor, and, you know, the writing probably doing her a bit of a disservice in that respect. And while there have been truly great moments of Martha where she's really had a chance to shine, she's also had a lot of moments where like, which can be like pitted against her, like, you know, constantly compared to Rose and that type of stuff. So I like that she's had a chance to just basically be like, no, fuck you. Like, this isn't doing me any favors. This is kind of, you've been pretty shitty to me, so I'm gonna leave. Like, she's civil about it, but I think there's a little bit of a fuck you there. Really.
I think she respectfully just puts him right. It's not like she's not looking to end the friendship, and she's like, the Doctor, for all of his flaws, is a fantastic person. Like, he does exemplify great qualities, dedicating his entire life to helping people, and that being his entire ethos and everything. And I think there is a lot that she can understand about that. You know, training to be a doctor, there's her great fucking love and passion is to help and save people as well. And I think it just doesn't, like you said, this situation doesn't do her any good. And it comes to a point where she can enable herself or change it, and she changes it, and it's great. I really, really like the scene.
Yeah, and I like that she talks about that she's going back also for her family. Like, there's been so many companion exits that are like absolutely heartbreaking. I like that hers is, she goes off and she has a full life and she looks after the people that have always been the most important to her.
I think I read recently, I might have seen this on Twitter, or someone might have said it in a tweet or an email. If that is the case and I've accidentally put it ahead, I apologize. But I think someone said that like Martha is the only companion until Ryan and Bradley Walsh, who actually leave the TARDIS voluntarily. Like, everyone else, it's just not that great. But yeah, she's the only one who just leaves of her own accord. So,
and I think also what that means is like, oh, she can come back. Like, Martha's in half the episodes next series. Like, you build up so much like audience love for the companion, and while it is like great storylines have been done by them like dying or being trapped on parallel worlds. When you can bring them back, it means you can automatically get people like re-energized and re-excited in the show. So it's a bit weird that they don't do that a little bit more.
There are stings in Doctor Who where it's like there are cliffhangers before the title sting, which are like so gripping, but there's just nothing quite like Doctor, it's Martha, and I'm bringing you back to Earth, and you're like, oh shit! Like that just immediately puts you in a different headspace to get excited. One thing I'll say about the kind of exit on Martha's part, again, just because obviously it's a great moment for Martha, and Ten does get to eat some humble pie, which is good to see after he's been quite a prick, but he is still reeling that loss, and Ten being Ten pushes everything underneath the surface. And there's just a great moment, I've never really noticed it before, and I picked up on it today, where he smiles as Martha hugs him, and the second that Martha is hugging him and therefore can't see his face, it just drops, and his expression is, again, just the same way it was when the Master died, just vacant, alone, just like not mentally okay at all. And then they pull out of the hug, and he's just right back to Smiley 10 again, which I really, really like. And the Titanic is here as well.
Oh, I'm so excited. Yes. My two loves are colliding. The Titanic and Doctor Who.
Oh, yeah. This is going to be a big one for you next week, isn't it?
Just me. As a, 13-year-old boy or something, when I saw this episode for the first time, and you had the big reveal of the ship crashing through, I was like, whoa, that's interesting. And then the little ring thing, and it's like the Titanic. I was like, what? Like, I was like, oh my God. It was everything I'd ever wanted.
Was there any part of you that was upset it was a space Titanic?
Yes, immediately. Like when I found that out, I can't remember if it was like in a trailer or something or in the actual episode, but when I found that out, I was like, what? Oh, no.
It would be weird if the Doctor was just orbiting fucking the ocean.
Stranger things have happened. A ship just crashed into the TARDIS. How does that even work? What does that look like from the outside? Think about that for 2 minutes.
I mean, I'm excited for next week because I don't want to jump the gun. Maybe I'll cut this out, but just to say it now for a laugh. I'm pretty sure that he fixes the hole in the TARDIS by just wheeling a knob backwards.
He does, yeah.
It's so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Has anyone got any other thoughts? Obviously, we've got our weirdo segment, but before we end the episode, has anyone got any other things to say?
Nope, I still like the episode, despite comments raised here.
Okay. Well.
I think it's absolutely flawed, but it is just so much fucking fun, and like it doesn't stop moving, and it's such a good. It's good. It comes with silly emotional payoff and very, very fun. And
I think when you look at it outside of nostalgia, you can see all the flaws.
And what a way to enjoy something.
And also, Jack is not the face of boat. Anyway, it's time for
Weirdo of the Week. Weirdo.
I'm feeling very ganged up on this week. I've got 2 people dancing at me now. I'm not happy. Anyway, this is everyone's favorite segment of the show where we get to take a chance to look back on some of the weird and wonderful and grubby little characters who come across our screens each and every week. Lawrence, we'll start with you. Who is, I think you alluded to it a little bit earlier, but please regale us. Who is your weirdo for this week?
So it's the little guy who's like not a great actor. If you were to tell me that he was the kid that won the Blue Peter competition, I'd believe you. He's the one that's like, the Master's here. He's outside. The Master, our Lord and Savior, the Master's. He's walking the earth. Oh, weird. I just like there's no one that fits in this better. I don't think, because he is just a weird character. He says weird things that real people wouldn't say, like calling him like our Lord and Master walks among us or something. It's like, people don't fucking talk like this.
I think A little peek behind the curtain here. When we were in the planning stages of this podcast, and we had the idea for Weirdo of the Week, this character was literally one of the examples I used to get the point across. I say to you, I think that he would be a good quite contender for Weirdo of the Week. And yeah.
And I think Clive was the OG.
Clive was the other one. Yeah.
Before, just because I couldn't find a point to bring it up in the episode, am I allowed to have an alternate weirdo?
Of course, I mean, I've got like 12, so...
Okay, perfect. My alternate weirdo is everyone aboard the Valiant that is just completely fine with President Winters being dead still.
Oh yeah,
because they're like they specifically make a point of being like, we've just gone back in time. It's 2 minutes past 8, and the president is still dead. And then the doctor presses a button on the radio, and he's like, "What's going on? The president's dead." And the doctor's like, "Anyway, the rest of the episode."
Anyway, moving on. Rest in peace, President Winters, I guess. But yeah, we got shit to do.
I just enjoy that because he was a prick, and I think that they just saw an easy out and were like, this guy sucks. Never mind him.
Yeah.
I also think there's an element of like, with another season to go, and Russell has an affinity of like earthbound stories. I just think he probably didn't want to be tied into any one actor or one idea for the president. Maybe that could be it.
They actually use Obama, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, they don't use him. They say
it's so weird. Obama's like the president, and they're like, he's going to fix the recession in Doctor Who.
Oh yeah, Russell's understanding of politics. It's truly something brilliant. But yeah, we got Obama to look forward to, so that's something.
Yes.
I think Trump was even alluded to at one point in Doctor Who as well, but that's obviously later down the line. We'll go with you next, Catherine. So who is your weirdo for this week?
I picked the moment that the person that took me out of it the absolute most, and that is Clive Jones, because Martha's dad, because there is a moment when he's having that lovely tender scene with Francis, and they're getting back together and they share a little kiss, and he goes for an open eye kiss, which is the act of a psychopath.
Okay.
Oh, can't wait to kill that guy with you. Mwah.
Something that's always struck me as weird about that scene is just the way, like, I don't know, there's just something about the way he like leans over and kisses Francine, and like his eyes are like almost bulging out of his head as they kiss, and it's just, it looks so weird.
That's my problem with the whole thing. His eyes are open.
Yeah, it is quite bizarre, really. I was just gonna say, here's something. Do you reckon before all this went down and they got taken to the Valiant, that Clive had broken up with whatever that girl's name was? So like when they get back and it's been a year, but not for her, that's an awkward conversation they got to have then, isn't it? Like,
oh yeah. Do we ever see Clive again?
No, I don't think we do. No.
So maybe that answers that question then.
Yeah, we see Francine, but I don't think we ever see Clive.
Yeah.
We don't see Tish or Reggie Yates either. I love that we just call him Reggie Yates as well. Right, okay. So my weirdo for this week. I mean, take your pick, man. Come on. There's weird CGI Yoda Doctor. There's Captain Jack not being the face of Bo. There's every single guard on the Valiant just suddenly following Jack's orders, and even the moment where like he comes out of the elevator and he's just like, "Here, give me your handcuffs," and he's just like, "Yeah, all right, there you go, have them."
Cuff him.
Yeah. So mine is just a blanket Russell, which just covers them all, basically. Okay. So it's just Russell, which just covers all of the various weirdo characters. So whatever he was cooking this week, which was quite a lot, that's what I'm going for. So there we go.
I respect it. I don't respect your... I'm taking the high road. I'm ignoring your final shots about Captain Jack.
Okay.
If you want to have them, if they help you sleep better at night, Nathan, then make those shots, if you will. Okay. What I will ask, Nathan, is did we get any tweets or emails?
Lawrence, we got so fucking many. Okay.
Did we actually?
We genuinely did, yeah. I put a big call out in the last episode and been like, please send in some tweets and notifications. And God bless everyone that genuinely came through. So,
okay.
So seriously, thank you to everyone who did. I'll go through them now. I'll be quick as I can. But yes, first of all, Damn the Lamb, at Damn the Lamb on Twitter, says, I genuinely love Jesus Doctor at the end. It's dumb and camp, and as a kid, I was a big fan of T-posing Doctor just floating around. And here we go, yeah. Also, it's wild that Martha is the only companion in the revival to choose to leave the TARDIS until the Whittaker era. So, like we said.
A man after my own heart.
Yes. Robert Vasquez says a lot of people will say Tennant is their favorite Doctor, and I get it. David Tennant, but rewatching this series, all I could think of is how much of a jerk this Doctor is, especially to Martha, but also kind of overall. Time Lord Victorious makes a lot more sense in hindsight. I think that's true. I think that's a good point.
This episode definitely goes a long way for Time Lord Victorious, yeah.
Yeah. Of course, Catherine herself wrote in and just said, me to the Still Got Legs podcast this week, and then a gif of Martha saying, I'm coming back, which I loved very much. That was very fun.
Very much appreciated.
Enjoyed that. Jared Costal says, Mr. Saxon is an anagram of Master No 6. Don't know what that means, but yeah, I guess it is.
And probably other words too.
Yes.
Hello, Jared. Very, very sorry. Only now in the edit just realising that what you actually were saying was that it's an anagram for Master Number 6, as in not Master No 6. So we feel very silly. I've texted Nathan. I've called him an idiot. I've also accepted that I am an idiot, and I'm very, very sorry. This is great insight. Thank you very much. Although, technically, I believe he would be the 7th Master, but that's, do you count Derek Jacobi? Who knows? But yeah, thank you so much. Please continue writing in the future. We did not mean to take the piss. I apologise.
And then Greg Cactus Face has tweeted and said,
the highlight of my week.
I'm obsessed with this guy.
During this episode, it is mentioned that Martha goes to a series of places around the world. A World Series, if you will. Unlike the baseball World Series, it only takes place in 2 countries. In Doctor Who's case, England and Wales. So
Very
that's
good.
great. That's genuinely great. So that's the tweets. Now we got the emails to do.
No, they're longer.
There are yes, of which there are multiple, 3 to be exact. This first one is, the name just says Docky Who, and it's not signed, so I can't attribute this to anyone specific. And also, like, I won't read out the email, but it's like Doctor Who specific. So like, I think they just made like a burner email for this.
You're looking too far into this, Nathan. I think this is Doctor Who. I think this is...
Oh, this is actually Doctor Who, is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
All right, this is very sweet. It just says, I just want to say I love the show and I love the work you guys do. I've been really enjoying rewatching the show alongside you both. I don't have Apple Podcasts, so I can't leave a review there, but I wanted to show my appreciation for the pod. Thank you, man. Also, as an American listener, I can confirm that the baseball jokes from Greg Cactus Face are, in fact, very funny. That's good to know. That is good to know. Keep up the good work. Can't wait to hear your thoughts on Series 4. P.S. Nathan is a prick. I mean, that's fair.
Is that real?
That's genuinely real. Yeah.
At what point do we have to start cutting Greg Cactus Face a check?
I don't know. It's got to be at some point soon.
It's becoming a segment. I feel like we owe him something.
Well, we don't get anything from this. So I don't think we can pay anyone until we start claiming.
That's true. That's fair.
Hello, hosts. Oh, sorry. This is from Sam Nixon, who was written it before. thanks for reading my email out on the Blink pod. I was your first email, but hopefully not your last. You're not, Sam. Here's some thoughts on Last of the Time Lords. It's a fairly well-paced episode with great performances by Sim and Aguiman, but kind of falls apart with the whole godlike telepathy power at its conclusion. I suppose the in-universe rules of the Archangel Network were never really explained in great detail anyway. That's true. Thank God Martha puts 10 in his place, because no doubt his ego would be riding high after that. That's true. I guess she gave him a little come down to earth moment after after all that.
Put those glowing blue Converse back on solid ground, young man.
Yeah. That's something we didn't mention. He's in a beautiful blue suit at the end, so that's nice.
Give me a break.
And then Sam says, also thank you to Catherine for finally pushing me over the edge and giving into watching the Vampire Diaries. What a weird show.
Oh, that's sweet. It's very nice.
P.S. Also, nearly every piece of Doctor Who media will be available on BBC iPlayer from November 1st. Will you watch some classic stuff as it's free? Cheers, Sam. We actually talked about this yesterday. I gave Lawrence a phone call after I heard this news. I think the most exciting thing for us is that every episode of Confidential is also coming out.
Yeah.
So that's just gonna like make our we'll just have more to talk about. Basically, we'll have more shit to say. So that's
basically. I won't write 3 pages of notes anymore. I'll just watch an extra episode of something and then be like, Nathan, did you know this? Like an IMDb trivia section.
I did, Lawrence. I just watched it on Doctor Who Confidential.
Then let's discuss.
It's very exciting that all of that's coming to iPlayer. In terms of Classic Who, Lawrence is still very hesitant, but I am going to force him to watch it once we've wrapped up.
The show is still going. There's still a lot. It's going to take us about 3 years to catch up to where the show is currently. By that point, there'll be a couple more seasons out. But begrudgingly, I will say that eventually we will run out and our hand will be forced.
There you go.
So, yeah, I'm extremely excited for weird 8-parters that never end. I'm probably alienating people. I'm being pessimistic. I'm not excited. There's going to be no glowing hair and stuff. It's going to be all normal and boring.
You're always pessimistic. You're the most cynical man in the world. This last email now. This is from David over at the Talking Pictures podcast. Hi guys, thought I'd send in an email to get your thoughts on something I noticed on this time while rewatching the show and listening to you both talk about it each week. Series 3 was the first series I watched as a kid and is the one that got me hooked, but it seems like the series that actually has the least of the Doctor in him. I found it interesting that towards the later half of the series, he has a limited role, almost not present in the stories. Human Nature, Family of Blood, and Blink all fall under this category for me, as well as this episode, making it 4 out of the 13 episodes this season being Doctor Light, the first 3 being arguably some of the best this season. Do you think that this was done on purpose, and would you like to see more episodes that don't feature the Doctor, but instead feature the sci-fi, wibbly-wobbly world they've created? Thanks for answering, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts on the 60th anniversary in a few years' time. Maybe do a special bonus episode to discuss them, and listening to you talk about one of my personal favourites, Midnight, coming up in the next few weeks. Thanks, David. # justice for Martha at the end. That's pretty great.
A lot to address there. First and foremost, no bonus episodes. We will get there when we get there.
We might have a little comment or two on like the week that episode comes out, but
yeah, the corresponding episode of whatever lines up with the 60th. That'll be all you're getting. The Doctor Light stuff. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never thought about that until I read this.
Yeah, I like Doctor Light. We talked about it in Blink primarily, but it's interesting to consider that a lot of these do kind of fall into a Doctor Light. Tennant might be there on the screen, but it's often that he's been kind of taken out of the playing field as the Doctor. And I think
a Doctor Light episode can be good, but I think it has to be that. I think it has to be an episode. Because at the end of the day, this is called Doctor Who, this show. Like, if we get too much Doctor Light episodes, then it's just a spin-off. So,
yeah, that's true.
You know, like, I feel like we need to have... Like, one episode in a season is good, but I feel like the focus does need to be on the Doctor. mostly.
Yeah. I think for this season in particular, just because, as they've said, there's so many in the back half, I actually think it does harm the Doctor and Martha's relationship because most of their like time together is in the first half where he's being an absolute prick, and then they never kind of have enough time beyond that when he's starting to like see her stand like separate from Rose. So I think that maybe that's why we had a few issues like talking about the Doctor and Martha, that they still hadn't addressed loads of things.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, there you are. Thank you, David, and thank you everyone who messaged in. You did it, you guys. Thank you, I appreciate that. You've shown us some love, and you've shown Catherine some love as well, which is great. And you can show us some more love by listening to Missing Mystic Falls, a fun little podcast. Comes out every Wednesday. It's a good time. Enjoy it.
It is indeed a good time. Definitely watch The Vampire Diaries, is all I'm saying. To anyone that is on the fence, right, just do it. It's so good. I mean,
it's so bizarre. And I do say, like, we know on the podcast what the show is. We're not like, this is the prestige television. That's not what it's about. It's like, oh, remember when we were 14 and we used to watch this? Why on earth did that happen? Why did they make all these crazy choices?
One thing I love about that show so much is that, like, seasons go on and they remain so committed to telling me that a man in his 40s is 25. And it's like, this guy is fucking old. It's just sorry, but it's true.
Are we going to hit a point where I'm in a similar position to you, Lawrence, with this podcast where I haven't actually seen all the Vampire Diaries? No
way.
I know.
Okay.
I've never made it through, so we're just gonna be me reacting to these things for the very first time.
It took me, to be fair, I think on my second go, I also stopped, and then I was like, what did I miss? I missed something. And yeah, I heard too much about, I won't spoil it here, but I heard too much about the last season that I was intrigued by to not go and watch it. But yeah.
I will say, I have not seen The Vampire Diaries, but I have seen Jenny Nicholson's like 2 or 3 hour video on The Vampire Diaries.
Amazing.
So, essential
that was
viewing.
pretty fun as well.
Yeah, to anyone.
Yeah. Has she
So
done
go watch
Gossip
that
Girl?
and listen to Catherine's podcast.
No, I don't think so.
No.
Jenny, do Gossip Girl. I think she did Pretty Little Liars, right?
Mike did Pretty Little Liars. I don't know if you've ever seen that video.
No, I haven't.
I think I might have done. Oh, Catherine, but while you're here, can you tell Nathan that Succession is good and he should watch it, please?
Oh man, Succession is so fucking good. Like I don't know what, it's just amazing. It's so well acted. It's so well written.
He doesn't listen to me. He thinks he thinks that if I like it, it's going to be annoying for him.
Catherine, can you tell Lawrence that Taylor Swift is great and Lawrence should listen to all her albums?
Fuck, man. I'm just here to just solve disputes. Okay, Taylor Swift, amazing. Succession, amazing. Can like lots of different things.
I will say that just today I was dancing around the kitchen while cooking a stir fry with. Hang on, I was dancing with my dog, but I realised that introducing the dog at the later part of that sentence makes it sound like she was helping me cook. She wasn't.
Okay.
I was dancing around the kitchen with my dog whilst cooking to Taylor Swift. That's all I'm saying. And also, Jack is the face of Bo. If you have enjoyed this episode, you can give us a little follow. We are on Twitter, and we're also actually on TikTok. I have committed. I found an app that does all the captioning for me, and that was the thing that I always fucking despised about making any form of TikTok or short form content.
Didn't you post a TikTok today and it got 10k views or whatever?
Yeah, I think it's largely off the back of we had previous traction on another Happy Pod TikTok, which we've now repackaged.
Okay.
Once people realise that it's just about Doctor Who, I think they'll turn away. But for the meantime, we got them. We got them, boys.
Okay.
But yeah, give us a little follow there. But it's exactly what you'd expect it to be. We're just clipping out some fun parts of this to promote the show. I'm not. There's no disillusion here. It's promotion. So go and give that a little follow. That would be nice. And also, you can get excited because every single week, one of these little episodes comes out every Monday at 10 a.m. And if you do follow us on Twitter, you will get a little post that will remind you about it. You can, as Nathan has said, send us an email or leave us a little review or leave us a little tweet. Just give us some interaction. It's fun hearing other people's opinions. We brought Catherine on, and it's a breath of fresh air to hear a take that isn't mine or Nathan's about this show. So it's always welcome. And also, finally, we have another podcast as well, don't we, Nathan?
We do. It's called Another Happy Pod. It's our pop culture podcast. Every Friday, we get together and we talk about something. Could be a movie, TV show, video game, a musical, which we just discussed this past week with Alexander Hamilton. And next week, we're discussing Moana. So,
A Linathon.
A Linathon indeed. Fun times all around.
Indeed. Catherine, where can people follow your podcast or yourself? Anything you want to plug?
Yeah. So podcast is on Twitter, Miss Mystic Falls Pod. We're also on Instagram, Missing Mystic Falls Pod. And then if you want to, you can follow me on Twitter. I don't profess to be particularly funny there, but it's what's my name? Kathy_Scratch.
Lovely stuff. Also, something I guess we will ask: What's the next appearance you want to make? What is an episode you are gunning to talk about?
Yeah, take your pick and you can have it. Book it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. One I think I should be on, guys, is the vampire episode. But that's
okay. Yeah, Vampires in Venice. Yeah. Okay.
That can be arranged.
Yeah.
That can be arranged.
But no, I'm very grateful for being here. It's very fun.
I was happy to have you.
Thank you for joining us. We had a great time. Anything else to say, Lawrence, before I press my little button?
Yes, this is the part where I will speak for about 10 seconds while Nathan presses the outro button. I hope he's already pressed it.
Goodbye.
Hey guys, Editing Lawrence here again, coming at you after the theme song. Something that we forgot to do in the episode was just check and read out our most recent review. So I'm just going to pull that up now. Here it is. So it's still got it, 5 stars. This comes from Jeff Lemon, a wonderful podcast about a 60-year-old show that goes off on various bizarre tangents at the drop of a fez. A must listen for me every week. Thank you very much, Jeff Lemon. And if you are sat there wondering how you can get your review read out, just like this guy, Jeff Lemon, then all you need to do is leave a little review. Apple Podcasts, best place to do it. Give us a little 5 stars and let us know what you think.